I'm Remy. I'm a friend of Alex's. I've seen you guys perform.
Forgot to mention, Remy is actually here for a callback. So,
Hey, yeah, I wanted to talk to you about your film, A Tight Squeeze. Funny film and title and everything.
Oh, thanks.
And
Yeah.
I really liked it. I thought it was like so clever and funny. And I feel like nowadays a lot of people have been saying that there's not like a lot of good comedies in theaters or
Mm.
just like professionally, and I feel like this is very refreshing, this kind of humor, and it was just sharp and had like layers to it. It had like a funny kind of like subtext to some of the humor as well, so I really appreciated that. And it was also very cinematic, for being a comedy, and I like that aspect of it as well. I also like making comedic shorts, so I really appreciated it for that reason as well.
Yeah.
So
Thank you so much. Appreciate
yeah.
it.
So if you could tell me a little bit about yourself, like just introduce yourself, tell me about like your background in filmmaking.
Yeah. So I basically, right now I work mostly as an editor, specializing in trailers. But then I feel like every once in a while, like I'll write something and direct it. Like I have one other film called Above All a Dreamer, which was like 2 years ago, and it was same like absurd comedy, but a bit longer and a bit darker, I suppose. But and like after that, I was like, oh, this is like such a fun genre. Like I find myself like I'll write something and like it try to be dramatic with it in some way, but then it always ends up being funny. And that's kind of like I do improv as well, like for the last year. So it was kind of like my current obsession. I'll like a lot of inspiration came from that, but that's like I think where a lot of the comedy. I mean, it's like such like an improv like heavy film in the sense of it's like about improv. It's like all improvisers for the most part, except for one actor is not an improviser, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious about what you said about like sometimes you try to make something serious and it just goes into a funny territory.
Mhm.
I have like something kind of similar where sometimes I try to make my comedies have like more depth and meaning to it.
Mhm.
And but a lot of times it feels forced when I do that, and it just like feels like I'm trying to cram in some serious meaning to it. And I noticed that if I just make it funny, a lot of times, like coincidentally, something comes up that is like reflecting on it afterwards, like, oh, there's
Right.
actually some kind of themes in here that
Yeah.
that are interesting. Does that kind of happen to you too, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of it's like there's two sides of like the approach to it where it's like I find like for me at least like writing a comedy it ends up being like very sincere, and it's like and that's kind of where like a lot of the comedy comes from. But like with a drama, for example, like my last film, it was like, oh, this is like a subject that I just feel like it has to be a drama, like it's about a brain tumor, like it's not really like laughable. But then it's very difficult for me at least to not, I guess, combine um drama and comedy. Like
Yeah.
they do go hand in hand, and it's like
Yeah.
in drama and like in life, it's like a lot of like hardships that you experience. There's always like some sort of comedy to find it, and a lot of it is that, and then also uh, more like personally, it's very difficult. I think for me to take a lot of things seriously, and it's like, oh, like this, we cannot like take ourselves too seriously, especially like making something like making film, especially. I feel like, yeah, I can write. I know what's dramatic, and I know what's like meaningful, and I know what's heavy in subject, but there is always something kind of little bit funny without like punching down or anything. It's mostly
Yeah.
like the absurdity of it is what, yeah, and the sincerity of it more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of like the best serious films have moments of comedy in them as well.
Especially recently, I've noticed that like the last like couple years, I feel like there's been so many examples of like films that like one film that we took major inspiration from was like one that came out last year, like A Different Man with Sebastian Stan, and it's like that's a it's a he- it's kind of dark, like heavy subject, but only like even technically we borrowed a lot from it, but comedically it's like a lot of it's just like the timing and it's so absurd at times, and it's like
Mhm.
you almost wonder if that came up on the spot. Like
Yeah.
I love that movie, but yeah. So
Yeah. One battle after another, I think, could be another
yeah, definitely.
example.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about specifically this film. Like, what inspired you to write it and make this one? I imagine that's like a question you've been asked a lot because it's like such a unique concept, and it's just like a funny thing to build a film around. I mean, what
Mhm.
did it? Did that main premise, was that the first thing that came to your mind? Like, what if someone sat on a water bottle,
Yeah.
or did it come from somewhere else first, or how did that work?
No, it came from actually, like I was in an improv callback for a group that I really wanted to get into, and my audition went really well, but then my callback was like I just felt like I was butchering it. I was like doing horrible. I just couldn't get like I couldn't plant my feet, and I remember I had my water bottle on the chair, and I was like, the only thing that can make this worse is if I sat on that and went up my ass, and I had to deal with it. Like that was like my mindset. I was so out of it and like standing on the sidelines, like so upset. I just looked over and I just zoned out, and I was like, yeah, that would be really bad. Like that'd be bad. That'd be really, really bad. And then yeah, and then it just came from there. Alexis, like my producer, he's the best. Like I've worked with him before, and I went straight to him and I was like, he's the DP as well, and it shows like how talented he is at it, and and yeah, he was like immediately like on board. It was like if we turn this into like a serious sort of tone, it would work. It would elevate it. We felt from like a sketch to like a more of a short film than anything. But
Yeah. And what was I gonna say? Well, yeah, I just wanted to ask about like the process uh, of filming this. Like, what was that like? Anything come up that was unexpected, or any challenges you faced during that?
yeah, I mean, well, it was like the day of the actual like production went very smoothly. It was a lot of it was, we were just very, 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 very prepared. Like I can be very obsessive about that stuff. And we had an amazing assistant director, Mercedes Rege. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I butchered that. But she's gonna kill me. But it was, a big thing for us though, like with the audition process was like the majority of this cast needs to be improvisers. And I've done improv with a lot of them, and we took from like basically every theater in the city in New York. And it was so it's like we wanted to sort of make it like, I guess I know it's like overused, but like a love letter to improv, because it's like a lot of the lines were improvised, and they were done, we thought, like so well. There's so much stuff, and that was important to us. And then we did rehearsals, and that made the shoot day a million times easier because it was less like everybody was very confident with their characters, it felt like, and where they had to be at all times, and what was going through their heads. And so the actual day was just one day of shooting in the stage, like a full day, like full day production on the stage. And then we did like the opening with the apartment was like picked up like I think like 2 weeks later. But I mean that was it. Those were the only two you know days. So it was like the planning behind that was pretty meticulous, of like, let's the shot list. When we went to some assistant directors, a lot of them are like, you're not like, this is way too much. And we were so worried, um it was just like a meticulous plan, every detail. I didn't sleep about it. I was like, no, like we knew we could pull it off after we rehearsed, and and I think it was like the first shot or something. Everybody just knew where they had to be, and I was like, all right, this is gonna go pretty well. Yeah.
Well, the acting was awesome in it as well, so that's something that
Thanks.
like
Yeah.
that stood out. And but I didn't know that you were actually an actor as well. So
Yeah.
but did you like think about being in the film yourself, or you never wanted to do that?
But yeah, we thought about it. Like Alexis, he was like, "Are you gonna be in it?" Like even as like a an ensemble cast member, which was like there was Grayson and Grayson Reith and Zachary Chacon who were like in the script like ensemble, and it was like, oh, I could, even though they had their moments, it was like, oh, I could do that, but then no, I'll save that for something else. I wanted to just focus directly on directing in this because like the last thing I did I acted in, and it was like I felt like I was getting 50-50 of both, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. Well, the whole idea of like preparing and stuff, um, I've interviewed several filmmakers, and that seems to be a very common pattern. Like almost all of them say that they plan like crazy.
Mm.
And I'm always curious because I feel like my style is a little different. Um, where I don't know, I'm more flexible and stuff, but sometimes the filmmakers have said that they try to do both, like a balance. Others say they really just need to control everything and have everything planned out. But what do you think about that? Like balancing, uh, like this maybe spontaneity of things that might just come up,
Yeah.
and like the planning of it.
Well, it's I feel like with directing I'm open to spontaneity, and I think this is the big difference like with the planning is like on directing I'm open to it, but on like camera like technical like camera work and lighting
I
I'm
see.
not, like not at all. So it's like that's, and I don't do camera stuff like ever, so it's very much like relying on like people who can, but I'm very big about, we I think we only had like one or two shots we were like, oh, on the day we came up with it because we had some time here, but I'm not very open to that. I feel like when it, but it's like let's really take a lot of time and plan that stuff out. With performances, though, I feel like that's where I'm very because a lot of comedy too
Mm.
comes from that spontaneity. It's like, okay, this would be such a small, funny detail, like giving like Keegan like a vape. It's like it was such a dumb thing, but it got a huge laugh like every time we showed it. And it was like, yeah, okay, that was like a last minute. I think he brought a vape to rehearsal, and it's like we bought him a new one for the day. And it was like, and yeah, stuff like that. And like with performances, like a lot of actors would, especially on this one, would like throw something in, and because they're improvisers, and this was huge for me, because they're
Yeah.
improvisers, it was good because they have
Yeah.
those instincts. It was hilarious. Like Rinzin, our lead, like he doesn't do improv, and it just made it so much better because it was like he was surrounded by these, he had to feel like the odd man out a little bit. So, and I hope that helped him a little bit. And but 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 yeah, it's like spontaneity when it comes to directing and how an actor behave, like how a character behaves more so. I'm open to that. I feel like that's a bit lenient there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, just, remembering the film and like some of the funny like improv moments.
Mhm.
Like one of the actresses, I remember she like tried to do some improv moment, and and like they just kind of like ignored her, and then she like awkwardly just like went back into place, like stuff like
Yeah. Yeah,
that.
Victoria like jumps in, and she's like, we should change the internet, like trying to go back to what the original scene was. It's just like nonsense. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, well, also, as I mentioned, like the whole concept of like the subtext where,
Yeah. Hmm.
through the improv, they're referencing what happened kind of indirectly. Um, I thought that was like one of the most clever like aspects of it.
Oh, thanks.
And like, like, how did you come up with that part, or like decide to do that? Did that just come up kind of organically, or did you? I don't know. How did that come up?
Well, yeah, I mean, there was like a lot of like cheekiness about, like, especially Victoria, like doing the scene, like, oh, Bobby can be a bit anal, like those lines. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, I think we had so many like other ones too that we filmed, and that one was the only one that made the cut. But it was just like, that's sort of like really leaning into like the absurdity of it. It's just this like yeah, there's now she's just saying puns, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
stuff like that. a lot of that too just came from Victoria is great, and like she was like a last minute add on because we couldn't cast that character, and I knew her, I knew her very well, like from improv, and I was like, can you just do it, like like come in to rehearsal. And I think like that she did that scene, like that was the first thing she did, and it was was like inadvertently, because she didn't know the script, was just saying stuff that were very similar to that, and then we rewrote it for her. So I guess like that's like I want to like give credit, I guess, like definitely like to the actors on a lot of that stuff, but the puns of it, and just sort of like the referencing it, I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
treat it as like, let's, the main character is just making it worse for him. That's like a lot of improv scenes. It's like you have like the odd man out. It's like, make it worse for that person. Don't fix the problem, is a huge like thing that you learn in improv. And it was just like, how do we make this like very similar? There's a lot of improv tied, like lessons tied into it, to make it almost like weird, like, and it could be an improv scene itself a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I wanted to ask, like, when you make a comedy, besides obviously making the audience laugh, like, what do you want them to take away from the film, or feel, or think, or yeah,
Yeah, I think I mean, with a comedy it's very much like, I just want them to have fun a little bit. I don't know.
yeah,
They're like, I want it to feel to me like very sincere. And I think it's sort of like a palate cleanser a little bit. I guess. I don't know, with this one, a lot of it was just sort of like tying in like some like stuff about acceptance, and maybe people like watched it and thought about that, but that was very secondary to me. I want people to watch it and just have fun, when we showed it like in front of an audience. We've done that a few times, and it was just a blast getting the reactions and like seeing what people like and what people don't. And I mean, it's very short too, like it's 12 minutes, and we showed it like back to back with like some films. And it did sort of feel like it served as like a palate cleanser, like this goofy kind of thing where it's like, these very distinct characters. And
yeah.
I think also, I mean, like, this is just sort of like a personal thing. It's like, if people walk away from it and they're like, oh, I want to see more, it's like, that's also huge for me. It's very much like, I don't want to like overstay any welcome when it comes to short films. Because it's like, you want to end up, you want to finish it and then be like, oh, I wish I could see more of this. You know what I mean? Like, I had a lot of fun, and and yeah, but you feel like satisfied, was kind of the big balance that me and Alexis had around this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to just shout out, especially the actor, I believe, who played the guy. Is Keegan the one who played Bobby, the guy who sat on the
Keegan Grant.
bottom?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Keegan Grant. His his performance, like, so good. It was He was like super, very natural at times.
Mm.
I feel like I've kind of met a person like that before. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, just kind
Yeah.
of relatable. But
Yes.
also,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there's like a lot of, it's like, I don't know, it almost feels like a dramatic performance at times.
Yeah.
Because he's like so like serious,
He's
and there's like
so
a lot of
intense.
tension. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so goofy how intense he is.
Yeah.
It was based off somebody. Like, it's like, so yeah, you do know somebody like that a little bit, and it's
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of
Uh,
like tension there. Like, I don't know, like,
Definitely, yeah. He's great. Like, I've done improv with him. He's at Magnet Theater, which is like an improv theater that I perform at in New York, and he's like one of the best improvisers like I've seen. He's absolutely incredible. And yeah, I think it was like when we had a test audience cut, we sort of like didn't have enough of him, and some of the responses were like, oh, he was good, but I don't understand like his intention or anything. And I think we went back,
really?
and yeah, like we had it, because I think it was like kind of like he sat on it by accident, and it was very clear, because he was just like, he got up and he was like, oh, sorry, you know what I mean? And it was like, okay, it was funny, but no one really knew what he was going for, and I think we changed that to like make it more intentional, and then it heightened the performance a little bit because it was just like, did he do that on purpose? Did he not? Like, it was just such a fun like discovery in the editing process. And
Hmm.
yeah, he delivered. He's great. I mean, he knew like right away what the character was. Alexis is also very good friends with him, and that's where he came in. Alexis, it was Alexis' idea, and I knew him too, so I was like, all right, stars aligned. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did he audition for it, or you just kind of gave it to him?
Yeah, he came to one of the callbacks, and he was like in mind for a while because yeah, we both knew him in different ways, and like, and it was like yeah, definitely like right away. Um, he nailed it, especially like the stare down moment. I was like, that was huge. We did that a lot in the audition, and it was like he nailed it right away, and I was like so excited to see more of it. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about like um, I don't know, the decision to make it pretty cinematic? Um, I don't know. I think other comedies, a lot of times, in my case, when I do comedies, I feel like things are rushed.
Mm,
Just the way things happen for me. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time to shoot it, so it's just I just got to get the shot. I just got to like capture the moment in
mm,
like the most straightforward way I can. And sometimes I wish I had more time so I could do something more interesting. And I appreciated like a lot of the shots that you did that were very cinematic and captured like the tension and the emotion. And I think other comedies don't necessarily go that cinematic either.
right.
So what was
Sure.
the thought behind that?
Well, I mean, we knew after we wrote it, like, okay, we have to elevate this somehow from a sketch because it is a sketch at the end of the day, like it's written like one. And a lot of that was the score. We knew it was going to be as dark as it is. And like I mentioned, a different man, like that was. There's a lot of shots like on a stage, and it's very like one to one. We felt like so it's like that dark, lighting. Like on stage was probably what I think elevated it the most to make it more cinematic. Like we redone a
Mm,
lot of the lights in that theater, brought our own in, and we had a big spotlight in the back and everything. And it was like, you know, uh that I guess that was the main difference. But at the end of the day, it's like we were being very like ambitious with a lot of like what we could get done in a day. A lot of it is handheld, and that was like intentional, but we only had, I want to say, five specialty shots is what we called them, where it's like, okay, this is a very cinematic shot.
mhm.
This is like really over the top. And then if
Yeah.
we just sprinkle these in amongst this handheld, like sort of just basic style, it's like, okay, well, that will also elevate it a little bit from what we don't want it to be, which is just like a sketch.
Yeah.
And a lot of credit goes to Alexis and the crew on that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would you say is something you learned from this experience, like that you can take with you going forward?
I learned like that. I learned about, I guess, a couple of things, I guess. Like one, on the producer role, there's when it comes to planning, just sort of like doing absolutely everything you can. I have a list now of like, okay, if I'm in pre-production, this is what I have to do for me at least. But how important casting is too. Like me and Alexis sort of like we really went back and forth on casting with each other and like disagreed on like a lot of decisions at first. And
Really?
yeah, yeah. And then I think like we had a big whiteboard and we were in his apartment for like 3 hours, just like mapping it out, like who's who. But honestly, like how casting and rehearsals are so important to me, at least. I know some people don't do rehearsals, but when it honestly would not have gone the way it did if we didn't do rehearsals. So from now on, if I write and direct something like in the future, it's like, okay, it has to be rehearsed, at least for just for me, you know, just for me. And it makes everybody more comfortable in their characters and in their role, than it would if it was like we just do a table read or something and then we, you know, I don't know, go for it. But we rehearsed like 4 times. Like we went really hard
Wow.
with it because it was like we have to nail everything on the first day. Like we can't go over. We're very low budget, so I guess that, and then um, uh, I don't know. Like a lot of it was pretty. Oh, um, I guess always do a test audience thing. Don't always do a test audience thing. That was huge. It was so cool. It was so cool, and it was so like shocking the different opinions we had and like the mistakes that we made. We're on a cut that we thought was locked, and then it's like we did. That was like version 7, and then we ended up on like version like I don't know 13 is the last one. So it was just very like
Wow.
um that was huge. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so you did the test audience. That was just kind of for the edit of it. You didn't have to reshoot anything, right?
We didn't have to reshoot anything. We had a lot of material like as well. We never felt like we were we made one thing that we were like we were kind of regretted, but it was like for the most part we were pretty locked in on like okay, we have enough to create multiple almost like stories. It felt like
Really? Wow.
just with their performances, it was like Keegan especially like did a lot of takes where it's like he did it intentionally with like a lot of like really dark kind of um tone, and then he did lighter ones, so it was like a lot of it is based around Keegan and what is Keegan thinking. So when it came to like the edit, a lot of it weirdly just relied around that. If we change that, then it changes what Rinzin is feeling. It's like it
Hmm.
changes what the situation is. Because even if he's not the main character, Keegan is kind of the center of gravity a little bit on this.
That's kind of interesting. Like, so does that mean like when you wrote the script, it was like way longer and you had all this, you filmed all this stuff and then you kind of condensed it down and cut a lot of things, or how did that work?
No, the script was about the same. It was more so like we just changed lines on the day, just to
Okay.
like what fit better. But it was more so. I think it was so strange. Like me and Alexis kind of were not on the same page on the story a little bit here, where it was very important. It was very scary when we discovered it in the editing, but like I wanted it to be like Keegan did it by accident. It was a total accident and he's embarrassed. And then Alexis was like, well, I thought he did it on purpose, like to test him. And we were like, oh my God, like we're not on the same page at all. So we just tried. So then we were like, all right, let's mix those two together. Let's make it like we don't know. It's like it's just so odd, and like it's like, oh, like what that's what we wanted. Um
You
so
wanted there
it
to be a little bit of like uncertainty around that,
a
right?
little bit like it kind of definitely seems like an accident, but it's like I think when he stands up and he looks down and he's like, did I knock something over? It's like, what? Like, did you do that on purpose, you weirdo? You know what I mean? uh so it was like more so that we had so much flexibility with those two things because both of those like changed drastically, like what happened or what, because you're living in Rinzin's mind. It's like it kind of changes a little bit. It changed more than we thought it would, I
Yeah.
guess, is kind of the gist.
Yeah, I watched it twice and like the first time I was pretty confident it was an accident, but
Hmm.
well, I never thought that he like did it on purpose. I was actually not sure if it actually like did go inside
Right.
of
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
or if
Yeah.
it did just fall somewhere. And but then I think on the second time I saw it, I'm like, oh, it's actually pretty clear. Like there's a lot of evidence
That it does. Yeah. Yeah.
that it is really, yeah.
Right. 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 That
Um,
was it. Yeah. Yeah.
the one thing, I'm just curious again about like the ending. I don't know if you want to leave that up to interpretation. I wasn't sure what like the bottle being left out was supposed to mean
Hmm.
exactly. Did you want that to be a little, ambiguous, or did you have like something very specific in mind for what the audience was supposed to, interpret that as?
Yeah. I it was definitely like that. Keegan gave it back to him, just left it there for him.
Yeah.
We filmed that 2 ways, where we had one where he was standing up and one where he was knocked over. And if it's knocked over, it means that he dropped it on the way in. And if it's standing up, that means it was returned to him. So it was like we
Mm-hmm.
wanted it to seem like it was left there for him to take or not to take. And then if he doesn't take it, it's just sort of like to us, it was just kind of like, okay, he's in now, like he's past this. He's past this. He's not anxious about this anymore. Whatever he was going through, which is just such a overreaction at the end of the day about an improv group, is gone. And now he's like welcomed in and, and he's good to go, I guess. Yeah, he's good to join them. And yeah.
Okay, nice. Well, all right. Well, that's pretty much most of what I wanted to ask you about the film, but it was awesome
Cool.
hearing your like insight on that. I guess the last thing is just like, what do you have coming up that you're working on?
Right now I'm working on score for two films. One is by Blue Fridge Films, which like produced Tight Squeeze. I don't know if I'm allowed to say Cricket at the Bottom of the Glass is kind of what. Yeah, that's the working title, I think.
Nice.
It's pretty much done. And then Please Call Dad, which was a film by Mercedes Roger, is like another one I did a score for. In terms of my own projects, I have nothing right now. Yeah, I'll wait till like another year and then maybe make something. But yeah.
All right, that's cool. So cause you say you do a lot of editing, right?
Yeah, I do
Too.
edits. I have a YouTube channel called Itemax, Itemax, which I do sort of trailers on and edits on. I've been doing that for a while now. And then professionally, I edit trailers. Yeah.
Awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Colton, it was great talking to you and learning more about this film was like,
Yeah.
very
Thank
insightful.
you so much. Thank you so much for having me. This is great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, Colton, have a great rest of your day, and I'll, keep in touch and,
Yeah, please.
be looking out for whatever else you do in the future.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dave.
All right, see ya. Bye.
See you. Bye bye.